I fixed every useless card in Clash Royale. Now, like, this is peak. I'm guessing it's going to be concepts, eh?
Some cards in Clash Royale are straight up useless. You never see them in meta decks, and they've been weak for years. But sometimes all it takes is one small change. Maybe a buff, maybe an evolution, rework, or a complete replacement. So today I'm taking the game's most forgotten cards and
Ooh, that's funny, bro. He posted this a couple days ago and they just fixed 3 musketeers.
Figuring out how to finally make them worth playing again.
Down, boy.
Let's start with the card that's been one of the least used in Clash Royale for years, the Barbarian Hut. Every few months there's that one video titled "Barbarian Hut is actually good now," but I mean, it never is. The closest it's ever come to being decent was back in early 2016 when nobody really knew how to play the game yet. Supercell's tried a few things to bring it back, but the last major change came in October of 2022. Its cost dropped from 7 down to 6. It spawned 3 barbarians every 14 seconds instead of 2 every 10. The lifetime was cut from 40 to 30 seconds, and the death spawn was reduced to just 1 barbarian. On paper, that rework sounded like it might fix things. Faster waves, more barbarians overall, and cheaper to play, but in practice, it just didn't matter. The meta had already shifted way too far. The game was faster, cheaper,
and but what if they made it 5 elixir? Would it be too good then?
Way more about tempo. A 6 elixir building that takes a half minute to do anything meaningful doesn't stand a chance when everyone's cycling cannons and Teslas every 10 seconds. And that's really the core issue. Barbarian Hut just can't keep up. The barbarians themselves aren't strong enough to justify its cost. They die to almost every splash card in the game, they're too slow to pressure, and they don't trade well on defense anymore. So a building that spawns less effective barbarians slower and for more elixir is doomed from the start. You can get equal or better defensive value from cheaper options like Cannon or Goblin Cage, and those don't completely kill your tempo. A possible fix would be an evolution, maybe one that spawns evolved barbarians or maybe elite barbarians. That could instantly make it scarier.
That sounds like a horrible idea.
And it'd at least feel rewarding to play. But even that wouldn't solve the real problem. It'd just be another short-term spike in power, one of those cards that dominates for a season, gets nerfed, and
why is the barbarian flying?
Disappears again. What the hut actually needs is identity. Something that gives it a clear reason to exist beyond being a slow barbarian dispenser. One approach could be similar to the Goblin Hut rework, where it only spawns barbarians when enemies are in range. That would make it an interactive defensive building instead of a passive elixir sink, a card that reacts. But honestly, I'd love to see Supercell go even further with it. I mean, imagine if Barbarian Hut was reimagined completely, turned into a Barbarian King. I always thought that it was a missed opportunity when we got the Golden Knight and not the Barbarian King. And it wouldn't even have to be a champion. It could be a melee troop that spawns barbarians over time, or one that calls them in after he's been out of combat for a few seconds, kind of like the evolved Royal Ghost. And it would make sense because he's also able to spawn barbarians in Clash of Clans. And yeah, that might sound wild, but it's not totally out of reach. The Furnace literally turned into a troop too, so there's already precedent for buildings transforming into units. The only tricky part is naming. Barbarian King doesn't exactly sound like a hut, so maybe they'll do what they did with the heal spell and change the name. It'd give the barbarian archetype an identity again, aggressive, brawling.
Bro, but I think the issue with the Barbarian Hut is it's too clunky, bro. It's like it's too slow.
Chaotic, and finally make the hut feel like a card worth playing, not just a leftover from 2016. Next up is one of Clash Royale's most confusing designs in recent memory, the Rune Giant. Added on January 6th, 2025, she was supposed to be a fresh take on the giant archetype, introducing the new enchantment mechanic. In theory, it sounded awesome, a tank that empowered your troops as she marched forward. In practice, though, the launch was messy. She was so weak on release that she got an emergency buff just a few weeks later, turning her into what was basically a spell disguised as a troop. Instead of being the main threat, players started using her purely for her enhancement effect, dropping her just to buff troops behind her. Cards like Hunter, Firecracker, and especially Ram Rider could suddenly melt towers while enchanted. It was genuinely wild for a bit. Rune Giant pushes could delete your whole defense if you weren't careful. And if you aren't careful...
Wasn't Rune Giant good and then they just nerfed it into the ground again?
Well, you might forget to hit that subscribe button while you're watching the video. I know, bit corny, but seriously, these videos take a lot of effort to make, and your support...
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Support helps out way more than you think it does, so thank you. Where was I? Alright, right. the Rune Giant being incredibly overpowered. So yeah, Rune Giant could absolutely obliterate towers, and to combat this, Supercell had quickly toned it down with a couple of maintenance updates later that month. They made it so that the damage boost was split between projectiles instead of applying to every one, and prevented attached troops from passing on the enchantment to others. Then in March of 2025, they hit her with a big nerf, an 11% HP reduction, and a limit that removed her enchantment 5 seconds after she was defeated. That completely flipped her identity. What was once a flashy, overpowered concept suddenly became a weak support tank that doesn't really do anything well. Since then, she's only received one small buff, a 6% HP increase, but even that didn't matter. The Berserker has become one of the most dominant cards in the game, and on paper, Rune Giant should have been the perfect partner for her, but despite that synergy, she's barely seen anywhere. The biggest problem with the Rune Giant is how dependent she is on other troops. You have to commit a ton of elixir to get any value from her, and even then, you're gambling on her surviving long enough for the enchantment to even matter. On her own, she's just a mediocre tank that hits—
Yeah, it's like the only troop in the game where like the only way to get value is to spend 20 elixir next to her.
Soft, moves awkwardly, and dies too fast. There's no real reason to pick her over Giant, Electro Giant, or even Monk if you're looking for that frontline role. A simple change that could genuinely help her is slowing down her movement speed. Right now, she moves at a medium pace, which makes it really hard to build a proper push.
That is true, bro. If they made her slow, you could stack up stuff more.
If she moved slower, she'd naturally survive longer, allowing your enchanted troops to actually get value instead of losing the buff halfway across the bridge. It'd make her feel more strategic, like a real enabler, not just an expensive gimmick.
She would take actual like brain cells to use though, which means she would probably never get used because Clash players literally despise using brain cells.
Maybe, just maybe, she deserves an evolution, something that doubles down on her support identity.
Alright, is this guy like a gooner? I mean, oh my god! For the Evo Rune Giant, he just made her hot?
To nearby troops or extends the enchantment duration when she's destroyed. Anything that gives her a defined role again, because right now she's caught in this weird spot between a tank and a support. And in Clash Royale, being almost two things usually means you are nothing at all. Man, this one is just sad. Because like most forgotten cards, the evolved Goblin Drill actually started out as one of the strongest evolutions in the game. When it released, it was nuts. Every time it resurfaced, it dealt spawn damage, knocked troops back, and repositioned itself. It made defending against it
the Evo Goblin Drill is like the only card in the game that gets worse when it's Evo'd.
Absolute nightmare, since you couldn't just drop a Valkyrie or Bowler and forget about it. It would deal guaranteed spawn damage 3 times. But then Supercell removed that spawn damage and knockback, and with that, basically removed the evolution's identity. Now the resurface mechanic does nothing. A Bowler still counters it, a Valkyrie still hard shuts it down, and the Goblin Drill itself just feels way better since you'd rather save your evolution slot for something more impactful. It's not that Goblin Drill is bad, it's just that the regular one's in a really good spot, but the evolved version, it doesn't really justify the slot. It's one of those evolutions that feels cool but has zero reason to actually exist. If Supercell wanted to bring it back, I'd love to see it made faster. Maybe it burrows as quickly as the miner, making it harder to react to. Or maybe it could become evolved with only 1 cycle instead of the current 2. Both—
no, that's not good, because then— well, that's actually not that bad, but then people are just spam Goblin Drilling your tower and they just get guaranteed damage.
Would make it feel viable again, just without reverting into the broken spawn damage era. Because right now, Evolved Drill is less of an evolution and more of a downgrade in most situations. The Void. Released in May of 2024, and oh boy, was—
See, now this is an interesting card, bro, because apparently it was the best card in the game. I did not play the game back then in like 2021 or 2022, but now it's like, bro, I will play against 1 Void every month, dude, in ladder, like literally.
It broken. On release, this card was everywhere. For 3 elixir, it could completely shut down support troops, sometimes trading positively against 6 elixir cards like Sparky. The single target damage was just absurd, and it hit so quickly that trying to block it with another unit was nearly impossible.
It took out
sure,
an
it struggled against swarms like skeletons or minions, but the sheer value you could get from using it on key support troops made it almost mandatory in decks. Fun fact, the Evolved Wizard, Ice Wizard, and Electro Wizard were the foundation for the Void. You can even see this in the official Clash Royale Void intro video. At its peak, it was arguably the strongest version of the card and popped up in nearly every meta deck. Of course, Supercell had to tone it down. They increased the reaction time from a half-second window up to 1 second, reduced the single target damage by 13.2%, while slightly buffing damage to 5+ targets by 58.4%, so it could still two-shot skeletons, and eventually dropped single target damage by a whopping 32%. What went from being busted and meta-defining quickly became niche and honestly irrelevant.
Bro, that shows how broken the card was, because they removed its damage by like 50-something% total.
The problem is now simple. Void doesn't excel at anything. It's basically a slower, weaker fireball or arrows. On defense, it can't reliably clear units fast enough. On offense, it rarely creates meaningful value. It's stuck in this limbo where it's too situational to justify running, and nobody touches it. So how could you bring it back without making it broken again? One idea is to give units hit by Void a status effect, a debuff that reduces their damage output, similar to how Slow or Enchant works. Imagine their powers being sucked into the Void, leaving them weaker for a few seconds. To avoid breaking the card completely, this could either come with slightly lower damage or be restricted to an evolution version of Void. Suddenly it wouldn't be just about dealing damage, it would control the battlefield.
Bro, what if they made it smaller, like the circle even smaller, but the damage was just crazy on it, like insane? Like, if it's a single unit, it does like rocket level damage, but good players would know to just stack units on top of each other. But I don't know. Chat, is that good?
Weakening enemy pushes and giving your other troops a real chance to shine. Right now, Void is a card without a reason to exist, but with a well-designed tweak like that, it could carve out a niche that's both strategic and satisfying. A support destroyer with a unique twist, not just another generic spell that doesn't quite fit in. The Phoenix is a bit of a funny one. When it first came out in November of 2022, it was everywhere. The death explosion, the rebirth mechanic, the insane DPS for just 4 elixir. It was one of those cards that immediately warped the meta. You'd see it in monk decks, miner decks, golem decks, even expo decks at one point.
What?
The reason was simple. It could do everything. It defended, it counterpushed, supported tanks, and somehow still provided value.
I think Riley told me this or something, but like at one point, Phoenix was so broken that like Mirror was like the second most popular card in the game, because people would literally just use Phoenix Mirror.
Even when it died. Supercell tried to balance it a few times. They reduced its damage, reduced the egg's health, and even made it so that the egg could be destroyed by small spells like Log or Zap. And to be fair, that did tone it down. For a while, but Phoenix has always had this identity crisis. It's not bad, it's not good, it just exists. Some metas, it's fine, others, it completely disappears. The problem with Phoenix today is that it doesn't really fit anywhere. It's too fragile for air control, too unreliable.
You know, chat, it's also kind of similar to the Mega Minion. I feel like you rarely ever play Mega Minions too. I feel like Mega Minion and Phoenix are just like so like niche.
Liable for defense and too expensive to just cycle. Its rebirth mechanic, which used to be its entire identity, is barely relevant now because the egg almost never survives. There's no reason to pick it up over something like Mega Minion or even Baby Dragon.
Yeah, I feel like Baby Dragon is definitely the most popular like single unit flying troop in the game right now.
Both of which are more consistent.
E-Drag.
What makes it even worse is how unexciting it feels. When the Phoenix revives now, it's more like, oh, cool, it survived, instead of, holy shit, it's back. The moment that it used to create, it's lost that magic. If Supercell really wanted to bring Phoenix back, I think an evolution could be the perfect opportunity. Imagine an evolved Phoenix that rises from its egg stronger than before, maybe with a temporary attack speed buff or a fiery aura that damages nearby enemies on rebirth. They could even make the egg more strategic, like having it generate a ring of fire that burns enemies trying to destroy it. The Phoenix doesn't need to become broken again, but it does need its spark back. Right now, it's just another 4 elixir flying troop that used to be great, and that is sad, because this card has one of the coolest concepts in the entire game. It just deserves to feel powerful again. 3 Musketeers used to be the definition of—
Dude, this is funny because he posted this like a day. Let me see how many days he posted it ago. He posted this 4 days ago, and the 3M rework got released 3 days ago?
Risk and reward in Clash Royale. 6 elixir for a single push.
I wonder what he says.
9 elixir for 3 glass cannons that could absolutely shred through tanks, towers, and egos alike. Back in the day, a good 3 musketeer split could win you the game instantly. Pair them with battle ram for pressure, minion horde for fireball bait, and pump for elixir advantage, and you had
this was like one of my favorite decks ever, bro.
The scariest decks in the entire game. But as the years went on, that high risk, high reward identity got punished harder and harder. Every new splash card, every new spell, every faster cycle made 3M worse and worse. And when Elixir Collector got nerfed and the meta shifted away from slow pump-based decks, the archetype basically died overnight. Supercell tried to help them a few times, changing their deploy time, tweaking their cost, but nothing really stuck. The truth is, it's not even their stats that hold them back anymore. It's the meta. There are too many cards that counter them too efficiently. Poison, Fireball, Lightning, even evolved cards like Evo Executioner or Valkyrie completely ruin their synergy. Nowadays, you barely see them outside of memes or nostalgia decks, and that is sad because mechanically, they're still one of the coolest concepts in the game. 3 units, 1 card, total chaos. If they were ever to come back, I think it would have to be through a fundamental change, not just a buff. Imagine if the 3 musketeers—
Dude, I wonder if what he says is what they do.
Had an evolution with this mechanic. When 1 musketeer dies, the remaining 2 briefly gain a damage boost or reload faster, symbolizing their vengeance.
Yeah, but then the thing is, spells would just take them out all together at once, like poison or fireball zap or...
Similar to the trait in merge tactics. Something like that could actually bring back that feeling of momentum that once—
Then again, if you split them, that could be insane, because you technically can't really kill them if they're split with spells.
On the field, you have to respect them, because right now you don't. You just fireball them and move on. 3 musketeers used to demand strategy, timing, and guts. Now they just demand 9 elixir and a prayer. And unless Supercell does something bold, something that actually gives them a new identity, they'll keep being remembered as relics of a much slower, simpler Clash Royale. So the mirror has always been one of the most—
Now chat, I'm just gonna say, bro, me and Riley played with the 3 musketeers on the dev build like a couple of days ago. The card is insane. Like, there's a video on it. It's literally insane. Like, it's gonna be so— I think it's literally gonna be so broken.
Most creative cards in Clash Royale, but also one of the hardest to actually make good. On paper, it's brilliant. Instantly play any card again, 1 level higher just for a bit more elixir. It's unpredictable, it's flashy, and it opens up so many possibilities. But in today's game, Mirror creatively
It's me, chat!
Didn't pay off. The biggest problem is that Clash Royale has changed. It's faster, more punishing, and heavily centered around tempo. Every card needs to do something immediately, and Mirror just doesn't. Playing it means spending extra elixir to do something you already did, often slower and with no added utility. You lose tempo, you lose defense, and most of the time you just lose. It's also that it makes your cycle awkward. You can only replay the card you just played. You can't even cycle a simple Ice Spirit in between. And sure, that +1 level is still nice. Your mirrored Fireball might fully kill a Musketeer, your mirrored Goblins might survive Zap, but those moments are rare. There have been attempts to make it relevant again, small elixir tweaks, reworks to how it interacts with card levels, but none of that fixes the core problem. It doesn't add new value. It only repeats what you've already done. And in a meta that rewards efficiency and flexibility, that is a death sentence. If Mirror were ever to return to form, it needs more than just that +1 level. It needs purpose. Imagine if a mirrored card got a small buff, like faster deploy time, quicker first hit, or a short stat boost. But those are probably going to break the card and wouldn't be very interesting. I did find this really awesome concept on Reddit. Stegoman had multiple rework concepts, but this one stood out to me the most. When Mirror is selected or hovered over the arena for 2 seconds, the mirror will shatter. A shattered mirror will deploy and damage exactly like a rage spell, have the same radius as a zap spell, and deal the same damage as full arrows. If you don't want to shatter the mirror, simply click off the card to reset the shatter progress and quickly play the card. This honestly is a brilliant rework. It's a bit quirky, maybe.
So you could use it as like a spell or like a
but it would still be very interesting, kind of similar to the Spirit Empress in my opinion. It would give you more outplay potential and versatility. It doesn't just have one job anymore, and it won't exactly replace arrows or zap because of the 2 seconds you have to wait for it. I really hope they do something cool with the mirror because right now it has no identity in a game that's evolved past it. It's supposed to reflect creativity, but all it really reflects now is how much the meta has outgrown it. Rascals are one of those cards that have always looked cooler
Alright, this guy's...
they've ever felt to play. On paper, they're this balanced tank and support combo, the Rascal boy up front soaking up damage while the girls shred through troops behind him. But in practice, they just...
Yeah, I always felt like the Rascals is just like putting... I feel like it was the laziest card ever, bro. It's literally just knight and archers put into a card, but it's a worse knight and a worse archers.
Don't fit into the current Clash Royale environment. The problem isn't that the card is bad, it's that everything else makes it hard for them to work. Everyone carries log, arrows, or fireball.
Like, okay, put it like this. Why would you use Rascals when you can just use knight and archers? Because if you have knight and archers, you can actually choose when you want to do the Rascals push instead of being forced to do it.
And those spells basically delete the Rascal girls before they even get to play the game. Once that happens, you're left with just the Rascal boy, who's basically a worse knight. He can't fight back, can't apply pressure, and usually just waddles forward waiting to die. It's a card that constantly feels punished for existing, not because of its own design, but because of how the meta evolved around it. So if any card deserves an evolution, it's this one. Imagine if the Rascal boy evolved to gain a protective aura, reducing damage taken by nearby allies by, I don't know, 20%. Similar to the Super Knight, but not overpowered. Just enough to let the girls barely survive a log or arrows. That single change would completely redefine how Rascals are played. Suddenly they'd go from being free spell value to a synergistic mini squad that actually fights back against the spell-heavy meta. You'd finally get to see the Rascals thrive in decks that reward timing, positioning, and smart support play, instead of being glorified punching bag for every spell in the game. Though it'd also open the door for even more annoying logbait decks, but maybe we see some really cool synergy plays. Imagine protecting archers, Dark Goblin, or even a princess within that aura. Defensive setups that actually last longer and reward precision. Maybe it's for the better that they're not that good right now. Let's be honest, Clone has always been that one card you see in a meme deck and instantly know, yeah, this guy's not winning. It's flashy.
The one Clone deck that was absolutely disgusting in its prime was the giant skeleton, like skeleton barrel Clone deck. That deck was insane.
It's chaotic, and sure, sometimes it wins you a game in the funniest way possible, but it's just never been consistent. It is a gimmick, not a strategy. So instead of constantly trying to fix Clone as a 3-elixir spell, why not rethink it entirely? What if Clone became the Clone Spirit, a 1-elixir card that bursts on impact, cloning nearby troops within a tiny radius? That would make it more about precise timing rather than reckless bridge spam. You wouldn't be
That's actually a great idea. They should do what they did with the heal spell and just turn it into a card.
Cloning your entire army, like just a key unit or two. Maybe a musketeer or mini P.E.K.K.A, creating some cheeky micro value instead of a full-on chaos explosion.
Bro, I'm telling you, the one push everybody would do with that would be like skeleton barrel Clone Spirit at the bridge.
It would fit perfectly alongside the other spirits. Cheap, tactical, and skill-based.
Imagine
a Clone Spirit dashing into a group of troops and duplicating your cards at the perfect time. Just enough to turn a defense into a counter push. It'd definitely make Clone useful without being the all-or-nothing mess it is now. And let's be real, seeing a little purple spirit pop out with a mischievous grin before duplicating your win condition, that would be so damn satisfying. Goblin Curse is one of those cards that used to be terrifying.
Whoa. Goblin Curse is still good.
First dropped, it was absolutely everywhere. A 50% damage amplification with a massive radius meant anything caught inside was basically erased. You could drop it on a tank push and completely flip the fight, or use it on defense to shred through golems, P.E.K.K.A s, and even tanks behind tanks. It wasn't just...
I can't believe you used to do that much damage to a Sparky, that's insane.
The spell, it was a death sentence. But that power didn't last long. Supercell nerfed it almost immediately. First the radius got smaller, then the damage amp jumped to 35%, then to 20%, and finally in August of 2025, they removed the damage amplification entirely. It was just gone, like that. And while sure, it was way too strong at launch, launch, that effect defined the card. The whole idea of amplifying your troops' damage instead of directly dealing it was something we hadn't really seen before. It rewarded smart timing, synergy, and placement. It had personality, but now it's just another 2 elixirs small spell sitting next to Log, Zap, Snowball, and Rage. It's fine, but it's not special, which sucks because it had so much potential. The concept of amplifying damage was honestly brilliant. It opened the door for entirely new playstyles. Imagine if that came back in some...
I feel like damage amplification should just be moved into like Rage and Rage only. Bro, the thing that they always did wrong with Rage, Goblin Curse is cool because I like Goblin Curse combo with Zap. Actually, it's really fun. But like, they should have made it to where Rage does no damage. I never understood why Rage does damage to troops. It defeats the purpose of a Rage spell. But they give Rage damage amplification for like 10 seconds or 5 seconds. And it speeds up troop. It speeds up whatever troops are in it, and it does way more damage amplification.
Form.
Like, way more.
Maybe through an evolution, like a 2-cycle Evo Goblin Curse that regains part of that amplification effect, maybe 25 or 30%, and applies a distinct green aura that makes your troops glow like they're possessed by goblins or something. To keep it balanced, it could have a smaller radius or shorter duration, forcing precise placement rather than spamming it everywhere.
That's funny.
That way it rewards skill again, and actually gives players a reason to run it over the standard spells. Goblin Curse used to shape pushes. It used to change fights. Now it's just there to clean up skeletons. If any card deserves a second chance, it's this one. Battle Healer is one of those cards that is...
Alright, yo, this dude is starting to freak me out.
Battle Healer is one of those cards that is technically fine, but only ever finds a home in one
it's like
type
the
of deck.
9th
You already
time.
know which one I'm talking about, Elixir Golem. That absolute menace of a combo that drains your sanity faster than it drains your tower.
Yeah.
Outside of...
He has like Clash Royale, like Rule 34. I don't know.
that though, she's basically gone. You might
What is wrong with this guy? Alright, that's like the 10th time.
occasionally see her in a Golem deck, but even then, she's inconsistent. Too slow, too expensive, and too tied to specific synergy to really fit anywhere else. Which is a shame, because the concept is actually really cool. She's one of the few cards that directly rewards aggression, constantly healing nearby troops as she attacks, but that same mechanic makes her too dangerous to buff, since in the wrong deck...
Dude, I'm gonna be honest. Well, Riley said this like 3 or 4 days ago, but he said he thinks Healer's the most underrated card in the game. Bro, I agree. I think Healer is just so high skill to use that, like, the casual player base will never use Healer. Like, Healer is so hard to actually get consistent value out of. Like, you have to be so locked in.
she becomes
Because
unstoppable.
it's the one card where, like, you have to play it so differently and inorganically. Like, to get a Healer value, you have to, like, always put it on top of your troops, even if that means it's, like, the weirdest scenario to do it. Like, it's hard to explain.
Right now, her problem isn't that she's weak, it's that she's too binary. She either wins you the game or does absolutely nothing. There is no middle ground. So what if we gave her one? Imagine if the Battle Healer had an ammo bar, something like the Dagger.
I'm telling you, dude, this guy is legitimately starting to terrify me. Chat, that is like the 11th time.
But instead of damage, it stores healing
My
energy.
God!
The bar could charge up when she's out of combat, slowly filling with each second she's not attacking or being attacked. Then once full, she'd have a limited amount of healing charges she could spend while fighting. Then, when that reserve runs out, she'd stop healing completely until she's able to recharge. That one change would instantly make her more balanced and skillful to use. You'd have to think about when to play her, since dropping her too early could waste her healing reserves, while holding onto her for the right moment could turn a push around. And if she runs dry, she basically becomes a weaker knight. Still a body, but not the unkillable nightmare she can be right now. It keeps her identity as a healing support, but finally gives her depth. You'd be rewarded for timing and patience instead of blind spam, and that would open the door for her to appear in actual decks again, not just the most toxic one in the game. Alright, Suspicious Bush. It's always been kind of one of those weird niche cards. Fun in theory, frustrating.
Yeah, it's literally only used in one brain rot deck. Like,
in practice. It's supposed to be sneaky, a mind game, something that lets you hide troops and catch your opponent off guard. But in reality, it's clunky, predictable, and barely worth the elixir. Most players just don't bother because the payoff rarely matches the risk. So if we're gonna give it an evolution that actually made it feel worth playing, imagine an evolved Suspicious Bush with a camouflage aura. Any friendly troop inside becomes untargetable for a few seconds, like the Suspicious Bush itself. It turns the bush from a gimmick into a tactical tool. Suddenly timing—
So you would just go like Suspicious Bush, the bridge, like Hog Rider behind it.
Placement matter a lot more. You could set up mini pushes or get that extra hit in for tower damage, and because it's still a troop, it can only be placed on your side of the arena, keeping it balanced. You can't just drop it in the middle of the enemy's lane and instantly nullify their defense. It's a controlled, skill-based way to reward clever play. This evolution could finally give Suspicious Bush a purpose, a way to interact with the game meaningfully while keeping its sneaking, deceptive personality intact. From a joke card to a strategic, timing-based support spell, that is a real comeback. Suspicious Bush may finally be finding its place, but if you want to see a card that made waves from day one, the Dagger Duchess is the one.
Alright, yo, hey. Alright. Right here, officer, I got him.
Comeback.
Listen,
Suspicious Bush may finally be finding its place, but if you want to see a card that made waves from day one, the Dagger—
My God! That's him, officer. Yo, check this dude's hard drive. No, legitimately, chat. What is going on?
Duchess is the one to watch. She hit the meta hard on release, and this video breaks down exactly how her power evolved, the surprising interactions she dominated, and why she's still such a standout card today. It's a fascinating story.